I look overdressed? No, right? Thank you. So, yeah, I asked the same question to my partner, and he said, why not be overdressed? So anyways, I'm here to talk about Queer Voices of Bhutan. That is my work and what we do at Queer Voices of Bhutan. So basically, I'm here to sell Queer Voices of Bhutan. So, okay, let's start. So, okay, thank you. So we were founded in 2018, and we are a queer advocacy platform. So what we do is we basically generate a lot of content around queer identities, and you go check us out on a lot of our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we have a website. So you'll get a lot of contents. Do follow us, please. Okay, so what we basically do is we work on a lot of visibility issues, on LGBT issues, and a lot of education, awareness, advocacy. We do a lot of events around safe spaces for the community, and we also do policy dialogue and change. So we recently had decriminalization in Bhutan, right? So 2021. So that was part of one of our work. So why Queer Voices of Bhutan? See, queer is a new terminology. Like, we recently adopted that queer terminology. A lot of people in this room understand that what queer terminology actually is. But post-decriminalization, when we went around in seminars with our allies, when we talked about queer spaces, we talked about pansexuality, we talked about ACEs, no one understood in the room. Especially our allies, they did not understood what it actually meant. And we asked a basic question, do you understand what does LGBTI mean? They did not understand what it actually meant. They could not differentiate the L from the G and the B. So we had to go back to basics. And that's where we are right now. So we're basically starting from the beginning. Now we have a greatest, sorry. Now we have like the spaces to do so. So that's why we are doing it. Okay. So what we do, we basically do a lot of training workshops for queer people. We do mental health workshops. We do like a lot of safe spaces events. We do even movie screenings for the community and all that stuff. So this is something that we do other than creating content for the community. And this is a very small community that I have back at home. One of the biggest thing we do is Queer Talks Bhutan. So if you look at our YouTube channel, you will find that. So we are in season 3 this year. So we'll, after I'm done here, I'll be going back and preparing for season 3. So season 1, we launched in 2020. Season 2, we had in 2021. So if you see, there will be one particular person, Namgizam. So she is a multimedia journalist, a very well-known journalist in our country. And she's a very influential social media and a very big ally of ours. So as an ally, she takes up this responsibility to host our show. You know, if I sit and interview a queer fellow, honestly, it does not gain that much traction, actually, because I don't have that following, and I don't have that network to have that audience from people. But she has like more than 50K followers on Instagram, Facebook, and all across the channel. Very well known. So that's how we use her visibility to promote our queer agenda. And that's how we do it with a lot of our work. So in Bhutan, what I realized over the year is that if you notice, you will see a lot of familiar faces more together, because in Bhutan, you will see me and my group of friends representing in a lot of different spaces. And we tell that it's not because there are not a lot of queer people, it's just that there are not a lot of queer people who are outside, who have come out and who really want to talk about these spaces. So we represent these spaces because there is a need to do it, not because there is not a queer community. You know, the image that we have of Bhutan is like the gross national happiness community. But I hear stories, I hear a lot of speakers right now, and I feel it's the same way. It's just that we are very subtle. We don't really see it, and we make a point of not showing it also. So, yeah. Also, one of the way we do is we just don't do talk shows. We write stories, because people don't always look at videos, right? They loved reading some of them. So we do stories, we do feature a lot of stories of the community themselves. But one of the biggest constant that we have is that we don't have a lot of people who are out and proud, who really want to talk about their identities. So it's even difficult for us to get stories out. So sometimes we have to be creative and tell like one person's story in 3 different ways. But it works actually, because what people need is awareness and visibility, and that is what we are here to do. And we do something called podcasts. We recently started because we realized that young people are shifting into podcasts also, because a lot of people are also listening to podcasts because it's fun. I do that when I clean. When I clean, my partner does that. He listens to crime podcast. It's quite dangerous, but for me. But when he cleans, he listens to crime podcasts, and he does his work. So a lot of people are shifting their the way they do stuff and the way they engage in media. So we also try to change our ways and shift according to that. And yeah, like I said, going back to basics, we had to print these booklets. It came out recently. So basically talking about, these are just self-help booklets. I think I might be gay, I think I might be bisexual, I think I might be transgender. This was, the first copy was done in Sri Lanka, so we adapted from there. So you can imagine where we are right now in Bhutan. So for a fact that for a queer advocacy platform, we have to push out these contents, right? I think I might be gay. This is not something that, it's very old, right? We were supposed to be, we should have understood what being gay actually meant for everyone. But it's not actually. The realities are very different. It's just because we don't really show it to the world, how Bhutan is, how the queer community is in Bhutan. It doesn't mean that we don't really have issues. I see a lot of cross-sexuality in issues as well. It's just that we don't really have the space to talk about these things. And but we do really have the space to, even within our allies. So we recently distributed this book to the 20 district judges. So they take up these booklets and learn about LGBTI issues. So we do have the space, we do have the opportunities as well, but we also do have issues surrounding that. And obviously we have these are pertaining issues. We do the makeup classes for the transgender population. That one was in 2019 when we had the decriminalization session in the parliament. The finance minister who championed the whole decriminalization session, and to our health minister, Limbo Dechin. She's a very big ally, both of them. Now, the interesting thing about decriminalization is that I always tell people that now Limpo Namgyal Singh, the finance minister, will remain a champion for decriminalization. Why? Because he was the first who stood out and talked about decriminalization in parliament. No one did it. Everyone wanted to do it, but only he stepped out and did it, and that's why he became a champion. And it's funny for me because for us, even in Bhutan, even in Asia, there's always an opportunity to be the first. We have a lot of space, opportunity to be first. I saw a recent post on Facebook that someone from the transgender community in Pakistan got selected for the PhD studies, right? The first label. It's still here in everywhere, even in Bhutan. There are a lot of spaces for us to be the first. And I don't really like that actually, because that means that we are really back, we have not progressed a lot. So if there are spaces to be the first in anywhere, I don't really like that. So this is really personal for me, actually. And because we are an advocacy platform, we do a lot of short awareness, like Coming Out Day, International Awareness Week. It's just posters. It's just that we have not really got used to it, but we are trying to put out a lot of content. It's just that we don't really have a lot of resources at our disposal. So first of all, we are informal. We are not really registered, but we function like in CSO. But we have a standing of a formal organization, which is really funny actually for an informal organization in my country. So what we see have a lot of standing in my country. So I think, So frequently asked questions: how do you handle negative trolling and engagement? The first speaker was very clear about that, right? How do you engage that and how do you handle that? But for us, we are an advocacy platform. When we share your stories, we have a responsibility to protect you as well. Because, for example, if I see my story on FNF page, and if I see negative trollings, it will have negative consequences on me. But it is, I also assume that it is the responsibility of FNF to handle these trolls. So that's what we do. We don't engage at all. That's what we do. There's a very interesting button on Facebook, right? Delete and ban. Just do that for us. Because when we share queer people's story, it is also our responsibility to protect them. they should not see these negative engagements. While they're creating visibility and doing better for the community, it should not hamper their mental health. It should not hamper them at all. So that is our responsibility as a platform to do that. And impact of queer representations due to digital visibility. I think it's very clear, right? A lot of speakers spoke right now. And it's also very same for us. It's just that we don't really hear stories about that. We think that the success of our content is the amount of likes and the shares that we have. But I realize that because we are a marginalized community, a lot of people will watch our content, but they will not share, they will not subscribe, they will not like, because there are risks associated with that. So it's quite understandable in our context as well. But we have to push out content for the community. And emergence of digital media and the queer community, rural versus urban. So that's one of the constants that we have, actually. So because we are a digital media platform, right? We are online. So our contents are only visible to people who have access to smartphones, access to internet. Like for example, in Bhutan, we had TV in 1999, so we are quite, we are still not there yet, but we are trying. So moving forward, one of the questions that I was asked is, what medium did we use? So we use English basically, because honestly, if I use Tsongkha, half of my community will not understand my national language, because it's very formal, to be honest. It's sometimes for us very difficult. So English is the best medium for us right now, and that's what we are using. I think for us moving forward, for us as a queer advocacy platform, we have to move with the community, with time, and with the paces that the community is actually going forward with. We cannot just, I understand that national identity is a big thing, right? Your language prioritization, all that thing. But as a platform, our aim is to increase visibility and create awareness. And if I end up using other mediums that people really don't understand, then there's no impact in that. So basically, we are here to create awareness using available resources and mediums that we have. And that is the smartest way to do for us right now. And we cannot be everywhere and everywhere all the time. So we have to be very smart about what we have and what kind of mediums that we use and what kind of opportunity and the spaces that we take up. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tashi, for this presentation. We've done quite a few events on Bhutan before, not necessarily pertaining to LGBT issues, and I think I've not seen a single speaker from Bhutan who didn't at some point mention the king. Now, you didn't mention the king in the entire 10-15 minutes that you were speaking, which is why I'm asking you, what is the role of the king when you talk about LGBT issues, promoting LGBT rights?
I have no idea, actually. But His Majesty is very progressive, because decriminalization happened in 2021, but because of our constitution, the constitution has to be signed, approved by His Majesty the King, and it was approved within 2 months. The parliamentarians took like 2 years to decide on the same thing. The National Council and the National Assembly fought over terminologies and all that stuff, dragged us for 2 years. 2 years were hell for us, actually. Oh my God, I could not imagine the parliamentarian process, the whole process it took. But His Majesty took like 2 months just to sign off on the amendment. So I think His Majesty is very progressive, even in terms of His Majesty the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen. They are very progressive for us. So it's just that we, as a Bhutanese citizen, we really don't talk about the monarchs and all that stuff. I'm not sure why. I really don't have an answer for that. But they are really progressive. Also, we have a lot of allies in the royal family. So we have a lot of patronages. A lot of CSOs are patroned by a lot of royal family members, actually, the Queen Mothers and other members of the royal family. So a lot of support is there, but they don't really openly talk about the whole LGBTI issues. So yeah, there's also always a mixture in that. So I will never have a concrete answer for that. I don't think any Bhutanese will have a concrete answer for that.
My question, I mean, you talked about a lot of your support, social support, political support, but what are the potential opponents? I mean, when it comes to offline, kind of opposition. Of course, you got support from your finance minister, but what are those groups actually opposing the idea of, this LGBT in Bhutan, and how you handle it with them?
We have pushed out a lot of content and we do a lot of visibility work because we are a social media platform. So I would say that our haters are quite, I don't know how to put it now. They're not open about their hate, right? Anyways, in Bhutan. Because we call out actually, we have a calling out culture. We don't do it publicly on Facebook, but we know who to get. We know who to get to. You get it, right? We know who to get in certain institutions who can handle your hate. So that's what we do. In media, when they get a headline wrong, we don't call out on a face, use our social media platforms to call out that media, call out that reporters and all that stuff. That's not what we do. What we do, we call the editor, tell them that this is wrong and you should change it. And they change it. It's actually very easy for us to do it. And that's one of the privileges that we have actually. And haters, they don't, online trolling and I'm sure there are a lot of homophobes and a lot of queerphobes and a lot of transphobe people. I've met few, but they don't really openly do it. It's because of the visibility that we have and the people we associate with. We may not really have those resources backing up from us, but we have the visibility. And visibility is power. It shows, for us, it's power. It shows that, okay, the queer community is out, the LGBTI community has a representation, and if certain things happen to them, there are people who are behind them who will support that. And that fact has seeped into the community. So that's why we don't really get a lot of hate, a lot of support, but people also don't really openly support. So that's always there too.
You are saying that people don't really, support publicly, and they don't hate publicly either. Which is good, I guess, and it's great to hear a different perspective and different story, when it comes to visibility and when it comes to being queer and LGBTQIA plus community, which we are hearing from Bhutan. Because so far, what we have heard in this conference and what we will hear tomorrow too, it is about those are very similar. Our experiences in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and in other countries. So I would ask you, if you don't mind. You have already made it clear that people don't usually hate publicly, but have you ever felt something like that in your personal life? And it's fine if you don't answer this, but that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you very personally, I was very feminine to grow up with. The way you see here, the masculinity, it's all built up because of the homophobia, the queerphobia I had experienced growing up in school. I always keep my head down. That's why I have mental health issues right now. Because these bullying, this harassment, they come and bite you back actually. They do, and a lot of us will experience that a lot. So just because we are here out and talking about whole LGBT issues, a lot of us will have a lot of issues and surrounding that, and how we tackle that, those are very different. You see, when the classical example is, I keep on going back to my partner. He's a very good orator. He could capture the audience. My God, he has his own charm, especially when it comes to advocacy. But he has crippling social anxiety. He cannot go out. He cannot go alone in the buses. So there are two dimensions, right? On the stages, he is a champion, but on a social life, he is very crippled. So that's how life works actually. So there's no definite answer to how we do stuff. It's not I've not faced hate anywhere. It's just I've not openly faced. I would say that I've not have openly faced, but it's also because I also put out a lot of content on my own personal pages. Don't tell this others, but I have this habit of taking pictures with very famous people, very powerful people, and put it on my social media feeds. Do you know what does that do? That guarantees your safety. So when people are trying to hate you, they will see your photos in the story. Okay, he knows that person, I might be in trouble if I do that. So you get to survive. Honestly, I hate to admit that, but I do it. But it works actually for us. And I would recommend all of you to do it if you can.
So thank you for the tip.
I wanted to first thank you and applaud you and the Queer Voice of Bhutan for all the amazing work that you've been doing. You eloquently spoke about the limitation of resources and using a more universal language. And you also spoke about queer visibility in terms of rural and urban spaces. So it's very understandable why you adopt certain strategies. But there is a common understanding between all of us that there is a massive diversity and intersectionality within the queer community, and not everyone has equal access. So as Queer Voice of Bhutan, how do you ensure that the voice, agency and access of the most vulnerable are heard, and that not just the most privileged within the community are benefited?
Marginalized communities, they will not come out to you. Because, for example, I'm out and I'm open. A lot of people know me, and there's a group of community in my country which will never come out to me. And they've told me anonymously that they will not, because of my association and my visibility. And that's a limitation that I have, and that's a limitation that we have as Queer Voices of Bhutan. We cannot reach everywhere. So what we do is we try to ensure that services, especially healthcare, education, and whatever services we have in the country are queer friendly. So we really don't have it right now, but we are building up to it. So the best thing we can do is we cannot reach everyone, right? But the services that they access, they are queer friendly. For example, a lot of our journalists are queer friendly. So our lot of news media are really queer friendly actually. You will never see any hate comments, hate reporters or hate sensationalization of LGBTI issues in our news media. It's because of a lot of allies that we have built in the journalist friends. So that's what we do. And you're right, and that's a drawback that we have actually. And honestly, it's the truth that we have, but there are ways to go beyond that. And what we can do is the services that they access, you make sure that they are queer friendly and accessible to LGBTI people. And that's the best thing we can do. Not everyone will come out to you, honestly, and not everyone has to come out.